Last week, Starlink, the venture promoted by Elon Musk, made landfall in India. As a result, their services, which is basically high speed satellite based internet, will be provided through Jio and Airtel. Rather ironic because both these telcos, the two largest in India, had initially opposed the entry of Starlink and attempted to delay it. What changed? Will Starlink's entry disrupt Indian telecom once again? To answer this and more, we have in our studios today Rohan Dhamija. He is the managing partner and head of global corporate strategy at Analysys Mason. Welcome to the studios, Rohan.
Thank you very much, Anil. Thank you for having me.
So, Rohan, I just want to begin with the fact that finally Starlink made its entry into India. It's been brewing for over 2 years now.
Sure.
So, did it get what it wanted?
Well, that really depends on how we define what Starlink wants, right? So, if we're talking about Starlink's short-term goal, which was to ease its entry into India, then I think definitely it got what it wanted, right? So the answer is yes from that perspective. But if we are talking about a larger, a futuristic play, then that remains to be seen. So it's a wait and watch on that one. And I'll explain why I say that as we go through this conversation.
Okay. Just quick follow up.
Sure.
So, how long is this contract? Is it like open ended, or is there a finite time frame for this deal?
So from what I know at this point, Anil, relatively open-ended. And let's take a step back, right? Like it's important to understand what this contract is really about, right? So in terms of satellite connectivity, there are not one, not two, but multiple use cases that can be offered to the end consumer. Yeah. Home broadband or fixed broadband that comes into homes and offices, what Jio and Airtel already provides, is just one of those use cases, right? Now, Jio and Airtel provide home broadband using technologies and connectivity layers such as fiber to the home, fiber to the node, as well as a technology, a wireless technology called FWA, fixed wireless access, right? This partnership is only for the home broadband use case. Yeah, there are other use cases that satellite connectivity can provide. The most spoken about on a global stage being D2D, direct to device, which in the future could basically become an almost full-fledged mobile connectivity service, but from the satellite rather than from terrestrial towers. This partnership does not include the D2D use case just yet. Yeah. So really what I'm trying to get to and the point I'm trying to make is that this current partnership is just for a niche home broadband use case, and that use case also will be applicable only in unconnected rural areas. Yeah. So in that sense, this partnership and this product that Starlink is going to sell via Jio and Airtel is complementary to what Jio and Airtel already do rather than be cannibalistic. Yeah. And that's an important concept for the viewers because in that sense, this partnership is just for that one niche use case, home broadband in uncovered and rural areas. It's relatively open-ended and it remains to be seen whether it gets extended both in terms of time and or in terms of additional and extended use cases.
Oh, interesting. So that's how the penny drops. This tie-up with these two telcos who opposed them in the past. Right. So it's not really the entire scope of what satellite-based internet services can provide, right?
That's absolutely right. It's not the whole 9 yards just yet. Also, I think an interesting point to note is that while Jio and Airtel were opposing Starlink's entry into India to begin with, but the fact that this is a limited use case that Starlink has currently gotten entry into India for, and that also subject to certain very well thought out conditions that the government of India has kept in front of Starlink. Really, in that sense, it's not the whole 9 yards, and it's just for a niche use case at this point.
Oh, interesting. So tell me something. This is not a kind of deal that Elon Musk would really like. I mean, it's not, doesn't give him the entire scope, right? So is it that India managed to leverage one thing which plays out for India is a large market?
Absolutely. So you use the phrase not the entire scope, right? So in terms of the scope, it's not the whole 9 yards or the real deal, but in terms of India's scale as a country and the large consumer base of end consumers that it offers, it definitely is the real deal. Yeah. So not in terms of scope, but in terms of scale of India as an end consumer country, it's definitely the real deal.
Okay. Because our impression prior to this, what you just told us,
Sure.
is that Musk leveraged his power as what he calls himself as first buddy
Sure.
to pull off this deal.
Right.
Do you think this deal's contours were inked during PM Modi's recent visit to the US?
I think so, Anil. So I think there was definitely some political lobbying. I definitely think this must have been discussed amongst other matters when Honorable Prime Minister met with Elon Musk. So yes, definitely there is a political flavor to it. But what I would like to add is that this kind of political flavor is the flavor that I love. Yeah, because it's a win-win-win end result that has been delivered out of this political background, political discussion, political lobbying, whatever phrase you want to use, right? It's a win for Starlink and Elon Musk because he finally gets to enter India, and that too via partnership with two of the largest telecom operators, which will ease his distribution and retail issues in a country as large and complicated as India. It's a win for the telecom operators because they get to add top of the line satellite connectivity layer to their terrestrial connectivity layer. And most of all, the government of India has ensured that it's a win for the Indian end consumer because he gets a full bouquet of connectivity products, as well as a win for the government of India because if you look at the conditions that the government of India has put on Starlink for this entry and for this partnership, they have ensured that there is a certain amount of command and control for the satellite constellation and for the satellite service that's maintained within India. So really, in that sense, I mean, I don't know if I've ever used the term win-win-win-win. I think it's a win for everyone. So well done to the government of India and well done to whoever drew out the contours of this deal.
And I'd like to add to that this is also a business relationship to the larger strategic relationship between the two countries. And business is the best glue that you can ever find.
Without a doubt,
right?
without a doubt.
So, you did allude in your opening remarks on the nature of these services. Tell us something, how do they stack up compared to what is offered using internet through mobile?
Okay, great question. And this is, I think, very important to discuss, which goes back up the point I made earlier, that this is a niche service and a complementary service, not a cannibalistic service to what Jio and Airtel are offering, right? So let's compare Starlink's home broadband service on two dimensions. Quality, or rather end customer experience, and cost. Yeah, and if I may actually start with cost first, very important to note, Anil, that satellite connectivity is much expensiver to deliver in terms of cost to serve vis-a-vis any terrestrial connectivity technology. Yeah. So because it's expensiver to deliver to the end customer, it will always be priced much expensiver to the end customer vis-a-vis terrestrial technologies such as fiber to the home or FWA, fixed wireless access. Yeah. Now, to give you some orders of magnitude around this, the fixed broadband ARPU in India, the average revenue per user, what a home pays to get terrestrial fixed connectivity in India, is anywhere between $6 to $8. Yeah. Starlink sells the service that it is getting to India at about 100 to 150 US dollars in the US. Yeah. And even in much lower GDP per capita countries such as Kenya or closer to home in Bhutan, it sells it much expensiver than the $6, $7, $8 of home broadband ARPU that terrestrial services generate. Yeah. So in Bhutan, for example, it sells at anywhere between INR 3,000 to 4,000 per month per user, which is about 40 to 50 US dollars per month. Yeah. So that's 4 to 5 times or probably even higher compared to the $7 fixed broadband ARPU that the Airtels and the Jios of the world charge, where they provide connectivity either through fiber or fixed wireless access. Yeah. Now, even if we assume that in India, Elon Musk, and through this partnership, because his retail and distribution costs will be much lower, will come in with a much lower price for the end consumer, I am pretty sure that that even lower price will be much higher than the 7 odd US dollar ARPU that the telecom operators charge, right? So the point I'm trying to conclude on is that on price, it's going to be always much higher than the the terrestrial fixed technologies, fiber and FWA. Yeah, that's one. Two, despite being expensiver on price, and it remains to be seen by how much, in terms of the end customer quality or customer experience that this service delivers, the satellite connectivity service delivers, in terms of throughput or the speed that the end customer gets, it is definitely slower and poorer than fiber, right? But fiber is not what this service is going to compete with. It's going to compete more closely with fixed wireless access, which is the mobile network based home connectivity solution, so FWA. And even when compared to FWA, it is definitely poorer than 5G FWA. Yeah, FWA, which is based on the 5G mobile platform, and probably comparable to 4G or LTE FWA. Yeah. So in that sense, much expensive on price, uh, poorer than 5G FWA, which is already out there. And hence, because of a poorer profile, product profile, both on price and customer experience on both those dimensions, this is going to be only applicable in unconnected rural parts of India. Yeah. So where fiber or FW is already there, that is not where this service is really going to pick up because of the reasons that we just discussed. So in that sense, niche use case in rural and unconnected parts of India, and hence complementary to what Jio and Airtel are doing with their terrestrial connectivity layers. But great news all the same, because in a country as large and as complex as India, we need every possible technology layer to connect the unconnected.
Oh, that's fascinating. Our general impression was that it's going to be vastly superior. So you're saying not only is it more expensive, it's not necessarily superior to what we get on
Definitely
home.
not superior, Anil. Sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but it's definitely not superior to fiber in terms of customer experience. Also, not superior to 5G FWA, but comparable to 4G FWA.
So two very obvious follow-up questions.
Sure.
What are the numbers we are looking up for this kind of a market in India? Secondly, if it is only in rural area where connectivity doesn't exist, you don't have pricing freedom there, because it's probably going to be not
the lower income target audience. That's absolutely right. Okay, fair enough. So let me touch upon both of those. In terms of numbers, while I wouldn't like to give out a specific number in terms of the addressable market in rural areas, because it remains to be seen, because of the second point that you made, that there is a pricing issue for that target segment. It remains to be seen whether a satellite connectivity is provided directly to rural and unconnected homes, or is it used more to connect government connectivity centers in each village, the way the government had envisioned long back as part of its national broadband plan? That remains to be seen. Yeah. So, in that sense, without debating numbers in terms of addressable market, I think we can all agree that it'll be for the rural, unconnected parts of India. There will be a pricing issue there. And I think if I had to put my money on a go to market for this service, I think this will basically be used more to connect government connectivity centers at the tehsil level, at the village level, connect schools, healthcare centers, so on and so forth. So, for the greater good, rather than sell directly to rural households.
So then tell me, what is in it for Musk? Because he wants to make money and he's
Sure.
looking at this large Indian market. What you're saying is that is, firstly, you have dispelled our notion
Sure.
on the price. You've dispelled our notion on the fact
Sure.
that it's not a large market, it's a
Right.
niche market. So what's in it for Musk?
Okay, fantastic. So, a couple of things for Musk, and again, I say this from the outside in, no way to read the first buddy's mind, but a couple of things for Musk. One, India is one of the most attractive markets in terms of the addressable size, right, including in the rural areas. So this partnership, this deal allows Musk to finally enter this market without the domestic telcos sparring against him, with the blessings of the domestic telcos, with the blessings of the government of India. So in that sense, it's a great way to enter the big market. Yeah, that's one. Two, while the unit economics of satellite connectivity are poorer vis-a-vis terrestrial networks, but as technology evolves, as there are more satellites sent into space, as take up picks up, all of these points will mean that the unit economics for satellite connectivity will only get more favorable. Yeah, even for the home broadband use case that we are talking about. Yeah, so this is a market entry with the hope that as all of these things start falling into place, unit economics get better and he can target a much larger segment of the Indian population. Yeah, that's one. Two, this use case, as I said, is just one of the many use cases that Starlink is intended to serve in the future, right? The bigger, more blockbuster use cases are what we refer to as D2D, direct to device, right? Where the satellite gives connectivity to your mobile phone and standard mobile phone, not the large satellite phones we used to see when we would see Osama in the Bora Bora hills or wherever those mountains in Afghanistan. But with the standard mobile phones that IU and all the people in India use, right? So that D2D direct to device use case is really the blockbuster use case, right? Now, with having entered the market with the blessings of the government and domestic players, he would be hoping that potentially this then leads to something bigger as technology evolves, as use cases develop, as unit economics become more favorable. So, really, I think he's looking at it from a longer term perspective.
So tell me, Rohan, you mentioned Osama.
Sure.
It's triggered the security concern in my head.
Sure.
So we deal with terror problems in India, still in Kashmir, Northeast, recently in Manipur.
Right.
So somebody gets access to this instrument.
Right.
How does the government of India deal with it, and can it be a security threat to India?
Okay, great question, and that's where security and very often now sovereignty has become very important when discussing these satellite partnerships, right? For any country, not just for India. Now, a couple of things there, Anil. One, this is where I started out by saying that we need to commend the government of India on the deal that it struck with Starlink. Yeah. So while all the details are yet to come out, and we're still hearing about the details, but the one thing we do know is that the government of India has put a condition on Starlink that it gets entry into India for this partnership only when it sets up local command and control centers in India. Yeah. What that basically means, Anil, is that a local command and control center being placed in India, basically in technical terms, that's an Earth Station gateway. Yeah. But in common parlance, it's a command and control center that'll be based in India, allows India to intercept any calls and take any security measures as and when it wishes to, right? So it addresses the security and to some extent sovereignty concerns that typically exist and go hand in hand with satellite connectivity when satellite connectivity comes into any market. So I think they have the right measures in place to address the security and partly sovereignty concerns, if that makes sense.
So fine, you have guardrails in place,
Sure.
but operationally, tell me
Right.
something. If I am misusing this service,
Sure.
can you, Government of India, jam my access?
Sure.
Can you do that?
Absolutely, without a doubt. So satellite technology allows you to do that, and that's what having the domestic command and control center allows for. Yeah, to basically jam the signal, to intercept calls in the future, to keep a track as and when necessary.
So it's
While of course respecting customer privacy, but it allows for all of that.
So it's not a blanket ban.
It's not a blanket at all.
Okay, now, a nice segue into my
Sure.
next question.
Sure.
On the strategic concern.
Right.
So there's a lot of argument that instead of tying up with Starlink,
Right.
our domestic telcos should have tied up with ISRO to create its own satellite-based internet services.
Sure.
What are your thoughts?
Okay, great question again, but a simple one to answer. Now, remember the telcos are in this for the money, right? And that sounds bad, but there's nothing bad about it. It's a for-profit business. Now, taking a step back, Anil, launching a full constellation, right? So what Starlink has is what is referred to as a low Earth orbit, LEO, satellite constellation up in the air, right? Which basically goes around the Earth and has enough satellites in the air that it provides great coverage and capacity over the target countries that it aims to provide connectivity into, right? So India in this example. Now, to have a constellation of scale which can provide viable coverage and capacity over a large and densely populated country like India would need anywhere between 250 to 300, 350 satellites in one constellation or multiple constellations to be launched. Yeah. Now that could take a couple of $1 billion and a couple of years to launch. Yeah. So in that sense, when a connectivity needs to be provided over one country, you are better served if you partner with a global constellation, because that global constellation has the economies of scale, because it has satellites not just focused on one country, but orbiting the Earth, but providing connectivity in various countries. It lends itself to better unit economics for the end customer if you partner with a global constellation. Yeah. So in that sense, if the Indian telcos would have tried launching a constellation on their own in partnership with ISRO, no doubt on ISRO's fantastic capabilities, but one, it would have cost a significant amount of money. Two, given the nature of these constellations, even after spending that money, it wouldn't have lent itself to sensible unit economics, where the unit economics are already a problem vis-a-vis terrestrial networks. And three, it could have taken some time, right? So really, in that sense, from a strategic and commercial perspective, makes all the sense to partner with Starlink, which is a global constellation.
Okay, interesting. I just wanted to ask you that in our great concern about security, we
Sure.
forgot one very important use for this kind of a service is disasters.
Sure.
So it can be used, right? In
It absolutely can be. Yes, that's right. There are other satellite constellation kinds that are very well set up and very apt for disaster use cases as well. But you're right that this constellation can be used for the disaster use cases as well, and a lot of other use cases, Anil. Yeah. So we spoke about D2D, which is kind of connecting the mobile connectivity bit, not just home broadband. There are other use cases such as in-flight connectivity. Starlink's just shown with its partnership with Qatar Airways and a whole bunch of other airlines that LEO constellations are as apt for in-flight connectivity as are GEO constellations, and a whole bunch of other use cases such as disaster, such as maritime connectivity, such as mobile backhauling, so on and so forth.
So, the final analysis, it looks as though it's a great win-win for all the stakeholders.
Sure.
And most importantly, the Indian consumer can look to a wider bouquet of services.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. So that's why I said not just a win-win, I'd say a win-win-win-win. And I don't know whether there's a fifth win that I could add, but a win all the way, without a doubt.
Okay. Thank you, Rohan. You heard Rohan. I mean, he sums up this deal, which on the face of it looked to us at the beginning as anything but win-win-win. But frankly, he's put all the facts on the table and it looks like a great deal for India. And more importantly, it has leveraged its economic power, which is basically the potential market, which is what the entire world is looking to India at this point, and leveraged it to its advantage to hopefully, like Rohan says, swing a great deal for India and finally, most importantly, the consumer. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to StratNewsGlobal.Tech on YouTube. Hit the bell icon so that you don't miss any updates. And please do share your thoughts, ideas and suggestions with us. I am available on Twitter at Capital Calculus. I'll be back next week with another episode. Till then, stay safe.